The Simone Feiler Podcast, giving authors a platform. Welcome to the podcast.
Feel very privileged to be chatting with Anayah Joi Holilly on my podcast today. Anayah is an earth angel who has experienced the most incredible gift from the universe, angels whispering pearls of wisdom directly to her. The words started coming to Anayah in January of 2001 over a period of 2 years and 2 months. And our beautiful earth angel wrote them down, and the outcome is the divine book, and now the even more divine audiobook narrated by Anayah in her gorgeous angelic voice, The Angel Code, Journey into the Words Whispered to Me. Thank you for joining me on my podcast today, Anayah.
Oh, what a thrill. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, me too. I feel very blessed to have had this opportunity to be part of this journey. So, I don't think I've had an author that I've had this conversation with, because you basically got these messages. How did they first start? What happened?
Well, it was really amazing, as it always is, right? A friend gave me a book and said, oh, you might like this. And it was Angel Speak, a guide how to talk to your angels by Trudy Griswold and Barbara Marks. And I just knew the minute I held that book that this was going to be very important in my life. So it's a little book. I went home, I read it. I thought, I can do this. I'm going to do exactly what this book says to do. And so I did. But it was amazing, Simone, because I went into this incredible, almost like a state. And in the book, the sisters were quite clear. You don't have to meditate. You don't have to be in an altered state. But I just asked the angels, particularly with that first message, I had a question for them and they answered me. And from there on, I just knew I was on a journey. But the crazy part was the words came through with so much space between them, I didn't even know they make any sense.
Wow.
I had no idea.
So first you got hold of this book.
Mm-hmm.
Was it like a guide to sit down and say, talk to the angels? Is that basically how it was?
And it's a book I recommend to absolutely everyone who's interested, even mildly curious about, can I get messages in writing from my angels?
Wow.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful. So there is a series, but it is the very first book, Angel Speak with an E, a guide how to talk with your angels.
Okay. So how long after you got this book did you actually ask that question? And did that first answer come to you?
So I got the book in the December.
Yeah.
And I read it, and then, of course, Christmas and all that sort of stuff. And then by very early January, I just knew I'm going to ask a question and see what the angels have to say, because I was very torn at the time. And my question was, and I think it's one a lot of people could relate to, does the spiritual path preclude me from enjoying earthly benefits?
Wow. Yes.
Because I really struggled with that.
Very profound question. And so the answer?
Stating your needs and wants is not considered greed. Oh, I get very emotional with
Me
the
too.
energy.
I'm
Yes.
like, my hair's standing up.
Yeah.
This is the opening to the amazing,
the
Angel
first,
Code.
yeah.
It really is. So you were talking about just before how the words came then after this particular, the first one, obviously, sporadically.
And it was the same with the first. I didn't even read it because I literally could have been receiving tree, blue, shop, car, hello. That's how it felt. None of the words seemed to connect. But the feeling, Simone, the feeling was so sublime. I just kept going. And it maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, maybe a little bit more, I thought, I wonder what I'm writing. And then I was completely unprepared, completely unprepared for what was on the page.
When you were writing, how did that experience come around that you heard the angels? Because they were whispered to you, but were you like, doing the dishes or in the garden or at work, and all of a sudden a word came? Or
Well, it kind of works that way now for me.
Right.
But then I was always laying down why. I just knew that was my comfortable spot, and I had my journal and my pen, and I just waited. And every time I heard a word, I wrote the word down, and then I'd wait and wait and wait and wait and wait.
For like minutes, hours, days?
Sometimes minutes. It would be like, I think some of those messages, especially the long ones, probably took 2 or 3 hours to come through.
Wow.
But it was that harmonious vibration. It was like, you know, when you see a feather and it just gently wafts to the ground, and it's just unhurried and gentle and so soft. And that was what it was like.
Oh, how blessed are you that happened to you. And now, after hearing you narrate your book to me, thank you so much again for coming on board. The first time when you came into the studio, my hair, I think it's been standing up since you walked into the studio, just quietly since I met you. But the first time, there were some that really resonated with me, some of those poems. And then, do you call them poems or messages?
No, but some people do.
Yeah.
I call them, I don't know, really, actually.
Because they're not really poems.
No, they're not
either.
really poems, and they are messages, but they're more, to me, it's more divine wisdom that fits every single person.
Perfect. Yeah. So some really resonated with me on that first experience, and then you came in for 2 sessions, and then obviously others on the second one. Then when I was editing it, a whole bunch of other divine messages started to resonate with me, and I was thinking, I don't even, like, it didn't even make sense to me on that first listen when you were recording, but now it's like, I understand exactly what that means. So there's layers in there that you can relate to. Let's go back 20 years ago is when these first started happening to you.
Actually, it was 2001, so it's 22 years now.
22 years, yeah. So where were you in your life at that stage?
Oh, I was a hot mess, hun.
Oh.
Like a lot of people, I was really torn and conflicted, and I was really struggling to come to peace with things that had happened in my life, my responses to things that had happened, who I was as a person. And at that stage, it was really lonely for me because I felt really broken and just wrong and unlovable.
Had you been through something?
A lot. I'm pretty sure I'm like a lot of people, actually, experiencing several lifetimes worth of learning opportunities in this one earthly lifetime. I'm pretty sure that my soul has signed up for that. It's been a really incredible life, and I couldn't ever come to terms, and I had a lot of anger and a lot of fear, deep pain and regret. And yet, once I started bringing these messages through, spending time with the angels, somehow I started to change. And the first time they ever said, "Remember your magnificence," I couldn't believe anyone would ever see anything like that in me. And so that really helped me because I understand where other people are when they are at that place in their life. And I think it was important in a way that I did feel so broken because, hey, life changed enormously over the years. And it's, for me, such a privilege because now I'm here when I see other people in that situation. I know that that's just an illusion. It's just an earthly illusion.
Wow.
And we can all get through it in our own way, in our own time, and in ways that are meaningful to us.
Were you spiritual beforehand, or?
Yes and no. I was spiritual with a lot of anger.
Okay.
And it took me a really long time, and it was actually quite beautiful because the angels helped me see that I wasn't an angry person. I was a person in deep pain expressing it through anger.
With the whole thing, you also went about changing your name. How did that?
That was so magnificent. That was amazing because I met, friends of mine said, "You've got to meet our friend, Chevelle, who was the most extraordinary astrologer, and he downloaded, actually similar to what happened to me, a different way of looking at astrology.
Right.
And he was such a fascinating man and an interesting man. And when I met him, he asked me my name and I told him, and he just did his little thing and he said, you know, you have to change that, don't you? And I got a bit huffy. Well, that's my name, you know. And he was so wise.
That would be confronting.
Yeah.
For someone to say
It
that
was
to
confronting.
you. Yeah.
But
what?
It's like, rack off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, he just said, can I ask you a couple of questions? And I said, yeah. And he said, how long have you had this name? And I told him. And he said, what's been happening in your life during that time? And I looked at him and I said, I need to change my name.
Wow.
And he later revealed that the energy signature was very similar to 9/11.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
and that my life was very like that. It was very...
Not good.
It was very challenging, and but again, it's the journey, it's the learning, it's the opportunity, and learning how to detach the ownership of that, to see it in a different lens, through a different lens, just opened my whole heart up.
That's beautiful. Were you, how were you at school and stuff growing up? Were you academic? Were you what religion? Were you part of a religion before you became spiritual? Mm-hmm. I'm really delving here.
Oh, it's
You're happy
great.
with
I
that?
love it. I love it because these are really valuable questions, because some people listening, will relate to this.
Yeah, for sure.
I was brought up Church of England, but it never made sense to me. And I just want to say, I am not knocking any religion. Religion is important to people, and if it's important to you, then I support you in that. But for me, I started noticing the things that we were being taught weren't following through in the way people were behaving outside the church. And so I started to question that. And I was also quite psychic as a child, and I couldn't understand that either. And it was when my uncle was in my bedroom, and I was very, very young, and he just said, I'm here to tell you it's going to be okay. And then I heard my mother crying, really crying, because her favourite brother had just passed. And there he was in my room. It's going to be okay, and I want you to know that.
Whoa.
So that was sort of a real segue into that underlying part of my spirituality. And over the years, very challenging, I suppose. Your teenage years can be so challenging.
Yep.
And it was very challenging in so many ways that I considered not staying here. And I remember going out, I was only about 13, I think, and I went out into an open field and I thought, I'm going. I can't be here anymore.
Wow.
And I laid down on the ground, and it was like angels just came and started singing to me.
Oh.
Yeah. And
so cool.
And what I now understand is they sing our songs of love into the world. It's their songs of love for us, exactly how we are, with no changes necessary, no upgrades, nothing. We're just beautiful. And when I stood up from that field, I just kept going.
Thankfully. How good was it you lay down in that field that the angels found you?
Yeah, and they're always with us.
Yeah. How do you see the angels?
I see them as creations of the Creator. So whether that's God or Spirit or the universe, I see them as these magnificent messengers that have one purpose, and this is such an important message. They have this incredible purpose, and that is to love, cherish, care for, and support us on our path. But we need to ask. And if we don't ask, because so many of us feel a bit guilty, maybe I'm asking too much.
Not worthy.
Other people need help more than me. My problems are so insignificant compared to what's happening in the world. But they showed me that I love their sense of humour. They showed me this is what happens when you don't ask. There have been angels, you have guardian angels and a beautiful team of angels that have been specifically allocated to you for your life. And they showed me a massive unemployment office in the sky with angels hanging around, just waiting for us to ask so they can do their work and fulfill their purpose.
I need to start asking more.
Yep, because you can't ask for too much and it's just not possible.
How do you connect with the angels? I mean, obviously, clearly, your connection with the book has been a thing, but are you still connecting with the angels?
It's like they're my unseen companions. And there have been times, quite honestly, I've been in the supermarket in the aisles chatting to them and not realising I'm chatting out loud.
Oh.
What do you think about this? You know? And someone will say, excuse me, you're talking to me? And I say, oh, it's all right, I'm talking with the angels. And that's just how it is for me now. I've really become comfortable with that. And they talk to me and I talk to them about everything.
That is awesome.
Oh, and you asked me something before that just popped in. I call it the voiceless voice. It is I hear their voice so clearly, but there's no voice there. And it's the whisper. It's those whispers.
I've had that. Yeah. I have that sometimes. I feel I communicate. I call it God.
Yep.
I sometimes get ideas in regards to my business and think, thank you. I cannot believe that's such a great idea, and it doesn't feel like it came from me. It feels like it came from
came through you.
Yeah.
And embracing that is such an empowering experience. And there are times, probably about 20 years. 15 years ago, I was working in a crystal shop. When people would say, "What do you do?" I never said what I really did. So I do readings or, whatever, spiritual support, whatever. And then one day I heard the angel say, tell them. And I sort of thought, in my mind I'm saying, nah, and they're saying, go and tell them. So I said, actually I work with the angelic realms. And the woman said, oh, that's fantastic. I've always wanted to know about that.
And is that sort of where you started doing the work that you do now?
Yeah.
Because you've got a website, angelcode777.com.
No, that one, actually they both go to the same place, angellight777.com or theangelcode.com.
Yeah. So Angel Light, when did you open that?
You're going to love this. This is such a great story. So in 2007, they asked me to build a website. And in those days, the only thing I knew how to do was open my computer, read my emails, close my computer.
Right.
And I said to them, are you nuts? And they said, do you trust us? And I said, yes, of course I do. And they said, right. And then they showed me this little red biplane flying across a clear blue sky with a big sign that said, Google.
Right.
So I Googled, how do I make a website? What do I need to know? And I knew then I needed a domain name. What's a domain name? What's a URL? And it was much, much more challenging in those days to build, because you had to have a little bit of HTML. It wasn't drop and drag so much like it is now.
No, it was very different.
Yeah, but, they just sent me...
It?
Yep, they sent me everyone and everything I needed along the way, and I made my first, which is still Angel Light 777. I made that website and off I went.
And what did you do on that website?
Okay, so I share, and there's beautiful messages from the angels, which are all freely available. Angel support. There's information. There are resources. Of course, the angel code's there, and people can book a reading with me if they want to. But primarily, it's about giving people an opportunity to connect with the angels when nothing is required. I don't need them to sign up for anything, or you know what I mean?
You're just giving them a tip how they can connect with
I just want to
source.
share that, yeah.
You're a fascinating lady. So spiritual, and you're just absolutely gorgeous, I've got to say. You just have this incredible energy. It's so light and really, very angelic. I call you Earth Angel. That just seems so right to me. I feel like you're an angel on earth helping people, and if you're connecting people with the angels and how to communicate them, that makes perfect sense to me that you're an earth angel.
Absolutely. And of course, the other really great thing about that is every single thing you see in me, you already have in you, or you wouldn't be able to see it.
Wow.
It's actually about you.
Right.
Yeah.
Full on.
Yep.
That's confronting, Anayah.
Yeah. And it's true. And this is the thing. As a people, as human beings, we've stepped away, lost the art of, become disconnected from our own, the joy in ourselves, the magnificence that already exists in us. And for me, when the angels first started showing that to me, I literally, and I'm not even exaggerating, I fell to the floor crying because I felt so bad about myself.
Wow.
So it's beautiful now when I look back and I see myself like this little child, this little girl who just needed someone to show her that she was loved.
Wow.
And that's what the angels did for me.
And turned you around completely.
Turned
'Cause
my
look at
whole
you
life
now.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a wonderful journey. It's so blessed that you received those messages. And it was only over a 2-year, 2-month period.
Yep.
And then so did it just sort of end from one day to the next?
I don't even remember. I would just, and it wasn't even that I thought I'm collecting messages. I'd never had any thought that I would do anything with them until one day they asked me to publish them, right? And I was like, oh yeah, of course I'll do that.
So how long after that was that
Okay,
then you
when
got
was
the last
that?
message?
Oh, this is such a great story again. So many great stories. I don't remember. But I remember saying to them, oh, I can't really do it because I don't have a publisher. And they said, do you have a manuscript? And I said, no. And they said, well, what do you need a publisher for? Manuscript first. And then I thought, how in God's name am I going to pay for this? Because I had no money. And I went to the mailbox one day and there was $5,000 in it.
What?
With a note that said, from someone very special, with a note that said, we hope you will spend this in a way that brings you joy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
If that's not an instruction, I don't know what is.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, I've got the money.
That is so cool, Anayah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They wanted you to get this out.
They really did. And it took 7 years to transcribe the messages because I instinctively knew that no one could help me. No one would be able to read my writing.
Right.
But no one, there wasn't to be another energy signature on it. And so it's amazing when you're transcribing something that you've written, how often you will change things. And then it was only later that I realised that that 7-year period was vital because there are actually codes embedded in these messages of wisdom from the angels. And I was harmonising with them because they fit each one of us wherever we are in our own particular ways.
It's an amazing book. And also when you then decided to do the audio book, thank you so much for doing it with me. But you came in, we're having a chat, you're having a laugh and you're talking away. And then when you got into the studio and got into the flow of things, like your voice, it was like an angel speaking. I'm like, you don't even sound like that.
No, I actually don't sound even like this now that I'm speaking. I don't sound like this in real life.
Yeah.
You know that because we've had lots of conversations. But I learned again from Trudy Griswold, who was the co-author of Angel Speak. I said to her when she was working with me on Angel Heart Radio for a couple of years, I think off and on, and I said, I love your voice, Trudy. It's something about it that is it's magical, but it's so reassuring. And she said, Anayah, that's because I asked the angels to modulate my voice box so that their energy would flow.
Did you ask?
From me. Did I?
Did you ask the angels that before you came in?
Yeah. I asked them quite a long time ago now. When I'm doing your work, please. And you know the photo on the cover of the book?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a selfie.
What?
That is a selfie.
No way.
Yep, that's a selfie.
That's a gorgeous picture.
And I'm snapping away and it's, oh gosh, they're awful. And then I went, oh, angels, please shine love through me, and snapped it, and that was the photo.
Wow, yeah, it's beautiful.
So it's, whether we're having it shine out of us in our voice And that's what they did. And that's what they continue to do. And when I leave here, I'll sound like me again.
Well, you sound great because you've done the angellight777.com, but you've also got Angel Heart Radio. You sound great on that. How did that come about?
Oh, well.
You're the communication queen, you really are.
So when I first joined Facebook, we used to do little things to say, welcome to my page kind of thing. And I thought, I might make a video. And I had just done a course because I was petrified of being seen or heard. And so I went and did a little workshop on how to learn to be comfortable speaking on camera or in a microphone. And so I did that. And so I made this little video that was, hi, welcome to my page. Thanks for accepting my friend request or whatever.
Aww.
People started watching it.
Right. That's
and
cool.
Then more people started watching it. And then people started reaching out and asking me to be a guest on their radio show, internet radio. And that was how that started. One day someone said to me, Anayah, you need your own show, don't you?
And it took off from there.
2010, I was so terrified. No one could hear me for 27 minutes. I forgot to call into the studio.
Oh.
But the Angels again, it was with Blog Talk Radio then. And in those days, if you weren't on air within 2 minutes, the show was cancelled and you had to rebook. 27 minutes later, the studio was still open. And when
How
I
did
realised...
that not cut off after 2?
Exactly.
They're going, you will do this, Anayah.
Exactly. It's right. We're here to support you. Just go through it. You're fine. It's all going to be fine.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
Is absolutely history. And so Angel Heart Radio is 13 now. There's lots on Facebook in the archives. That's probably the best place to find the different live streams that I've done if you're particularly interested in catching up with any of mine, because I haven't been doing much this past year or so.
And I wonder why. Anayah's just become a grandmother again.
Yes.
Oh,
so
to Evie. How gorgeous.
Yeah.
The most perfect little gorgeous cherub you've seen. So how is that?
Oh. When my first grandchild was born, Bailey, I had the most incredible experience, and the angels gave me a visual. It was like my heart is a flower. And then when I had my children, my flower opened and continued to open. But then when I became a grandmother, I discovered there was another flower within the flower.
Wow.
So 3 times these new flowers within the flower have opened and blossomed. And it's incredible. When I look at her or any of my grandchildren, and I got this from my dad, this lesson from him. When we saw Dad, his whole face would light up. He'd fling his arms open, Anayah! Biggest hugs. And I knew, okay, I'm going to give that to Abby and to Bailey and to Evie.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah. One of my friends has recently become a grandmother, and she's like, you just don't understand. And I'm like, well, I've got children. No, you don't understand, Simone.
You think you know love.
Yeah, that's exactly what she said.
Yep. You think you know love, and you do. But then when you are blessed in this way... And I remember years ago when Bailey was first born, I've got the pram and I'm trotting down the street. Oh, my God. I felt like I had a neon sign going, I'm a grandmother.
Oh.
And I came across a woman who I didn't know well, but, we were, hi, how are you, kind of greetings. And I said to her, look at my grandson. And she said, well, I've got 7. And frankly, I'm over it.
Oh.
And I realised right then and there that one of the things to do in that situation is to send that love to that person. Because if we're not open, and I've been in that space, and the joy is when you give something to someone that on the surface you think, oh, well, blow you, I'm going. When you can just channel it out. And then I often see the angels, and I just call them in, please surround this person with unconditional love. And that's it. That's my job done.
Do you see angels as well as hear them?
Well... There was a day I was coming back from the Gold Coast, and as all the traffic were merging, there was a guy in a black Jeep, and he cut everybody off. And I was, in my car swearing, am I a stupid idiot? And then I remembered a teacher saying it's just as easy to bless someone as it is to cuss them. So I knew I could call on my guardian angels to have a chat with his guardian angels. So I said, okay, would you have a chat with his guardian angels about behaving in a way that brings blessings to everyone? I thought, oh my God, that was so easy. I'm doing it for everyone on the road. And this is like a motorway, thousands and thousands of cars. And all of a sudden, when I did that, above every car with my physical eyes, and it's the only time it's ever happened, I saw angels with these enormous wings just wrapped around the car.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
But then on top of that, stacked on top on a 45-degree angle, were more angels until they disappeared into the heavens.
Wow.
Hundreds of thousands of angels were there. And then, of course, I went, oh my God, I don't believe it. Boom, didn't see them. But I realised that they are always with us. Always.
How did they look? Did they look like the angels with the big wings?
Well, funnily enough, and I don't know why, do you remember Holly Hobby?
Yes.
They were Holly Hobby angels,
Right.
but with these massive great wings where I could see individual feathers. And of course, they're spiritual beings. They don't have bodies, but they will show themselves to us in ways that we recognise and mean something to us.
That's what's going to be my next question. Do you think they look different for everybody individually? Very enlightening. If you love this conversation, you've got to reach out to Anayah. She's incredible. And like I said, my skin crawls off me the minute I hang out with you.
It's fun.
When we're over, to when you're not here, or even on the phone. We've talked on the phone. But you have also got to have a listen to the Angel Code, because the way Anayah narrates, it's absolutely superb. It's beautiful. The music is also a fabulous addition. Hopefully we've recorded the last little bits today, so I'm going to work hard to see if I can get it out in time for Christmas, maybe, if not early in the new year.
Yep.
But you can get the book, Journey into the Words Whispered to Me, with Anayah Joi Holilly.
Yep, everywhere.
Thank you so much for being a part of my podcast today and for doing your audiobook with me. Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I just want to say, if you're within flying distance of getting to Simone and you have an audiobook or any kind of audio project that you want to do, I cannot recommend people come to you more highly, because you have a way of calming nerves, supporting us, creating a very beautiful, welcoming space. And no matter how many times I messed up, was that, you're doing great, Anayah. That's okay, we do that again. I just drop you in and off we'd go again. And I'd go home feeling so nourished and blessed and enriched. And it's not any... you probably haven't noticed, but I've got the gift of the gab.
I can't believe it. Thank you so much. That means so much to me.
And not everybody is comfortable speaking. So to have someone like you who gently nurtures it out of us in a way that's very comfortable and loving and kind and compassionate, this is a big thing. So make sure you connect with someone for any of your audio projects. You will not be sorry.
Thank you. That was amazing. I'm going to cut that up and put that up on an ad.
Oh, yes.
That was so awesome. Yeah, I've had such fun. And, I hope lots of people contact you and you open up the world for people to speak to the angels, because I think that's what
that's my joy.
You're here for.
I love it so much. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, you have a fabulous Christmas. Thanks again.
Thanks, Simone.
Thank you. Thanks for joining the Simone Feiler Podcast. What's your story? Contact Simone for a chat at brisbaneaudiobookproduction.com.